Am I the asshole for going into the ladies' room? I am a 31-year-old man and was at a large store yesterday with my 5-year-old son when he did what babies do. I went over to the restrooms and saw that there wasn't a family, companion restroom, just a men's and women's. I went into the men's room and saw there was a cubicle and a few urinals, but no changing table. The sink didn't have a counter either. I walked out and hunted down an employee to ask where the changing table was. She said it was in the bathroom, and I asked where, assuming there was a family, companion restroom on the other side of the store. She took me back to where I just was. I asked if there was another bathroom, and she said no. I told her I was just in the bathroom and there was no changing table. She asked if I was sure and suggested I look again. I was annoyed, but I went back in the men's room. No changing table. When I came out, the employee was gone. Keep in mind, my son has been in his poopy diaper this whole time. So I give up and head into the ladies' room, which sure enough had a changing table. There was a woman in there washing her hands, and she said, "Wrong bathroom, buddy." I gestured to my son and said, "No changing table in the men's room." She laughed and said, "Bro, that sucks." Then she walked out. So I rushed to change him, hoping to be done before anyone else walked in. I'm almost done when a woman walks in and starts screaming at me. I tried to explain what I was doing, but she kept screaming, "Get out. You can't be here." Then she ran out. I finished putting the diaper on and rushed out of the bathroom. I saw the woman talking to an employee and decided to leave without my stuff. The employee tried to wave me down and stop me, but I rushed out to my car, buckled my son into his car seat and left. My wife said I absolutely did the right thing, but my mom said I'm an idiot and was 100% in the wrong. My sister won't stop laughing at me and is no help at all. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. That store is 100% to blame for this. I wouldn't be shocked if they've received complaints about this in the past and haven't done anything about it. Your mom was way out of line. You needed to change your kid. What did she expect you to do, change him on the floor? Drive home with him in a dirty diaper? Your wife is right. You did the right thing and that lady was rude. Who does that? Screams at a father for changing his kid's dirty diaper. Not the asshole. If anything, you did wrong by rushing out as if you did something wrong. You should have told the employee that there's no changing room in the men's and that they should do something about that. Not the asshole. A guy the first went to high school with went on a one-man campaign to get changing tables installed in men's rooms for circumstances just as this. Take up the mantle. Not the asshole. I've never felt threatened by a man changing a poopy diaper. Maybe I should feel threatened since they have the most dangerous weapon ever. The McDonald's I used to work at didn't originally have a changing table in the men's room. They did eventually get one when they remodeled. Had guys come to me a few times before for this same reason, and what I did was make sure the ladies' room was empty. Let the dude in and wait outside till he finished so I could let any women know the situation. The employee should have done that or something like it rather than insisting you were wrong and ditching you. The baby comes first, so definitely not the asshole. Not the asshole, but that woman sure was. Not your fault the men's room had no changing table. What does your mom suggest you should have done? Am I the asshole for not driving my boyfriend home in the middle of the night? AITA. While spending the night, my boyfriend will sometimes wake me up in the middle of the night and say his feet are swelling due to an allergen in my room. We have been dating for a year and this has been going on for 5 months. Prior to 5 months ago this did not happen. In order to accommodate his allergy, I have had my carpets professionally cleaned 5 times, purchased all new bedding, purchased air filters, purchased a new couch for my living room, and most recently had hardwood floors put in to replace the carpeted rooms. My boyfriend owns a house with his ex-girlfriend, who he is still living with, so going to his house is not an option. When his feet swell, it is in the middle of the night, he wakes me up, and usually, he will then leave. It's almost always dramatic and can take anywhere from 5 minutes to 2 hours before he decides he is going home. I have a demanding job as a director of multiple programs and I have told him I cannot be woken up in the middle of the night. It negatively impacts my ability to work. Since getting the hardwood floors put in a couple of weeks ago, his allergies have subsided. A couple of days ago he wanted to spend the night and asked if I could pick him up because he was having car issues. He lives 40 minutes away. That night I took NyQuil and put in earplugs because I had an important meeting in the morning and could not risk not getting sleep. Side note, my 9-year-old had fallen asleep on the couch while we were watching a movie. That night around 2 a.m. I woke up to him making loud noises, opening and shutting my windows and doors. I ignored it. He got louder, and then told me his feet were swelling. I told him I would move my 9-year-old to her room and he could sleep on the couch. He said no. I told him he could sleep in my 9-year-old's room. He said no. He said he might sleep in my car. I fell back asleep. I did not offer to drive him home. When I woke the next morning, there was a string of texts throughout the night asking to be driven home as soon as possible. He had slept in my car. I didn't want to wake him, so I poured a cup of coffee and started getting ready for work. I sent him a text that I would take him home as soon as I got dressed. I heard the car turn on, so I went out to the garage. He was angry and accused me of just letting him stay in the car while I was drinking coffee. He then started accusing me of purposefully letting allergens in my room. He said my behaviors prove that I do not care about his allergies and he was done spending the night because I made it impossible for him to do so. He said my behaviors prove I do not care about him, and that if I did I would make sure my room would be allergen-free for him. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole, but why continue to have him over? There's so much going on here. I feel like it's easy to miss the fact that he still lives with his ex-girlfriend. That paired with his horrible demanding attitude and needing to go home immediately in the middle of the night is very concerning. I have also never in my life heard of an allergy that targets your feet. In the middle of night. He sounds like a nightmare. Not the asshole. But he sure is. Just out of curiosity. Have you ever looked at his feet to see if they are actually swelling? I think he is feeding his other girlfriend a line about where he is, and has to go home to keep her happy. Not the asshole. Your boyfriend has it backwards. His actions prove that he does not care about you. Not the asshole. He sounds like the allergen you should be free of. He knew he couldn't drive himself home. He knew his feet sometimes swell at your place. He knew you had an important meeting in the morning. He should have brought money for an Uber to go home or to a hotel if needed or stayed home. Not the asshole. This man is probably still with his ex-GF that he owns a house with and probably is deceiving her as well. It's kind of obvious he's being shady behind your back. Why else would you wake someone around the time a bar closes and goes back home to her? I've never heard of allergies just making your feet swell, and I've been a pharmacist for 40 years. Am I the asshole for punishing my son for excessively staring at strangers? My 36F son, 10M, has a strange habit of observing and analyzing strangers he encounters in public. He often just looks at strangers and try to deduce their age, height, nationality, ethnicity, what their job is and what they're doing at the moment. I am really puzzled by this behavior and sometimes get really frustrated with him, as when he's really deep in his thoughts analyzing the person, he tend to stare at them for a while, and when the person catches on, it may cause them to feel uncomfortable. My husband, 40M, on the other hand, thinks it's alright for him to do so and thinks since he thought it was normal for kids to exhibit signs of curiosity and that we should encourage it. Today, when we were taking a plane from our vacation, my son did his usual habit with another teenage girl seated at our row. My husband was unable to get a seat next to us, when I wasn't looking. When I took notice of this, I could tell the girl was getting slightly uncomfortable with the excessive staring, so I decided enough was enough. After the plane landed, I took his wallet from him and took away part of his allowance and told him the next time I caught him staring at strangers excessively, I would be taking away part of his allowance in an attempt to try and fix this habit of his. My son and husband both thought this was unfair, but I really saw no other way to fix this habit of his. My husband claims I am being unreasonable and this disciplinary action was not only too harsh, but just unnecessary. Am I the asshole? Edit. I've seen people pointing out that I didn't correct him on the plane but waited after the plane, and I apologize for not making that part clear, but I did. I just told him to stop staring since it's rude, and apologized to the girl for his staring. I waited after the plane landed to give him this punishment, since I didn't want to punish him in front of a stranger or someone he just made uncomfortable, since I thought that would be shaming him. Since this is a pattern, I would have him checked out by a professional. Edit. Grammar. Since you have talked to him many times, and he can respond only for an hour or so, you should be considering that it's something not under his control and get him evaluated. Info. Have you considered getting him checked out professionally? I'm on the spectrum and I do this, but me being on the spectrum was missed entirely until just a few years ago, as I don't present typically and mask well. As an adult, I'm much better at not observing people so closely, but as a child, I would stare and work out where people were in correlation to me. Now I do it still, and it was heightened drastically when I got PTSD, but I do it discreetly and with the sole purpose of keeping my distance. I would suggest going down a route with specialists before punishing him for this behavior, as it might not be something he can help. Even if it comes out that specialists don't think there's anything going on, it's something that's incredibly important to rule out. Info. Did you work up to this at all? Talk with him about staring being rude? Let him know there would be consequences for rude behaviors including staring? Is your child possibly on the spectrum? I don't mean this in any offense, but I'm wondering if there's something underlying. Did you get him tested for some neurodiversity like ASD or ADHD? It is something I did used to do, and then we discovered it was connected with it. Like a coping mechanism. Am I the asshole for giving my niece some food when my brother said I shouldn't? I, M44, was staying with my brother, M39, for a few days. He has a 13-year-old daughter that we will call Amy. Amy is generally a very sweet kid, but she can be a bit impolite sometimes. We were talking and she said something rude. My brother told her to apologize from me, but she refused. My brother then told her she can't have anything to eat until she apologizes. I told him to take it easy, I don't want an apology, but he didn't listen to me. She is very stubborn and wouldn't apologize and went to bed hungry. I felt bad about it, so after my brother went to sleep I made her a sandwich. Next day he found out about it and got really angry. Said I undermined his parenting. I think the punishment was too much. AITA? Not the asshole. Refusing food to a child is abuse regardless of what it's supposed to prove. Food shouldn't ever be used as a bargaining chip or punishment, and it's horrifying that he was prepared to let a growing kid go to bed without eating to prove. What? That she needs to be more polite? In what way does starving a kid improve their mood? You did the right thing. Not the asshole. There are many reasonable ways to punish a teenager. Starvation isn't one of them. Can I ask, did your parents pull this shit when you and your brother were young? Is that why he considers it a good style of parenting? This is weird because yes, you did undermine his parenting, but also that's like child abuse. Good for you taking the girl food. NTA. Not the asshole. Taking away food as punishment could give her an unhealthy relationship with it. You did the right thing, Op. Yes, she might have deserved some kind of punishment, but tampering with her health isn't the way. Food is not a reward or punishment. We are to provide the basic care: food, water, clothing, and shelter. I can't believe his punishment was to withhold food because she was rude. There are a million other things he could have chosen. She did need to apologize, but she didn't need to be starved.